The courthouse trembled as the gavel struck, echoing like thunder across marble walls. Claire whispered, "This verdict will burn cities." Michael clenched his jaw, knowing a single testimony would decide freedom or ruin. The air grew thick, heavy with unspoken dread. Outside, rain slashed against windows, as if warning of what was to come. Daniel leaned close to Sarah and muttered, "He should be here by now." Sarah's calm mask cracked, her fingers trembling against the wooden bench. The witness had vanished, swallowed by shadows that moved faster than justice. Evelyn rose gracefully, her eyes sharp and calculating, a storm hidden behind stillness. James sat in the corner, silent, eyes darting to every exit as if replaying every regret. The moment fractured into panic, the truth slipping like sand between desperate hands, while the storm outside promised there would be no escape. Michael adjusted his tie as silence deepened, each tick of the clock louder than a scream. Sarah whispered, "Something's wrong," her voice breaking the fragile calm. Daniel leaned forward, eyes sharp, sensing betrayal lingering in the air. Claire's hands folded tightly, knuckles white, as she murmured, "We trusted him." Evelyn's calm eyes flicked toward James, whose stare never left the exits. The rain outside roared louder, a storm pressing against fragile walls. In that silence, the absence of the missing witness spoke louder than words, every corner of the courtroom echoing with unease. Justice had been left standing on one leg, shaking under the weight of secrets. Claire's voice carried a tremor as she said, "He would never vanish without reason." Evelyn replied softly, "Everyone has reasons they never speak." Michael's eyes narrowed, rage mixing with dread, while Daniel scribbled in a worn notebook, sketching symbols that made no sense to anyone else. Sarah glanced at James, who sat unmoving, shadows clutching his features like a mask. Thunder rumbled outside, the storm threatening to burst through fragile glass. The weight of betrayal settled across the room, pressing against their chests, leaving no space to breathe. Daniel slammed his notebook shut, the sound sharp as thunder. "He was silenced," he said, eyes blazing with youthful certainty. Sarah shook her head, trying to steady her breath. Michael growled, "This case cannot survive without him." Claire whispered, "Then it's already dead." Evelyn crossed her arms slowly, gaze unwavering, as if already aware of truths hidden in plain sight. James remained silent, his jaw tightening, every muscle betraying the secrets he carried. The storm outside roared in unison, echoing the breaking trust inside the chamber. Sarah pressed her palms together, whispering, "We must find him before they erase him completely." Michael shook his head, pacing with clenched fists. Daniel muttered, "They already have." Claire leaned forward, tears threatening her composure, as Evelyn's expression remained unreadable. James finally spoke, voice low, "Sometimes vanishing is the only way to survive." His words froze the room, heavier than the storm outside. Every gaze turned toward him, suspicion burning in silence. The witness's absence was no longer just a disappearance. It was a declaration of war against the truth. The storm faded to a low murmur, but the silence inside cut sharper than thunder. Michael muttered, "If the witness is gone, our case is bleeding." Claire clasped her hands, her voice shaking. "He carried the truth we cannot replace." Sarah walked slowly to the window, staring into the dark streets, her reflection fractured by rain trails. Daniel tapped his notebook nervously, lines of frantic sketches sprawling across the page. Evelyn adjusted her scarf, her calm smile hiding edges, sharper than knives. James leaned against the wall, eyes heavy, as though haunted by ghosts only he could see. Trust stretched thinner, and though no one admitted it, every glance carried the same question. Who among them had pulled the thread that made the witness disappear? Sarah's voice cracked as she said, "He was more than evidence. He was the only bridge to justice." Daniel scoffed, "Bridges burn faster than you think." Claire's eyes softened, grief carving its weight across her features. Michael struck the desk with his fist, fury boiling in silence. Evelyn tilted her head, voice smooth as silk. Perhaps he vanished to save himself. James exhaled hard, muttering, or someone decided his voice was too dangerous. Outside, a siren wailed in the storm, echoing the fear none dared to name. In that moment, justice seemed like a flickering candle, one strong breath away from darkness. Daniel pushed his notebook away and said, "What if he never intended to testify?" Claire's face hardened as she whispered, "He swore he would." Michael stood tall, shoulders tight. No one vanishes without a shadow pulling them. Evelyn's calm gaze swept the room, her words heavy. Sometimes truth is swallowed before it can breathe. Sarah's hands tightened around her arms, whispering, "If they silenced him, we are next." James finally spoke, voice low but steady. "Then we either stand together or we fall apart faster than he did." Their words hung in the air, binding them with fear and fragile resolve. Claire whispered, "His disappearance is not coincidence, it's strategy." Michael turned sharply. "Strategy means players. Someone inside is moving pieces." Sarah's eyes shimmered as she murmured, "And we trusted them." Evelyn's lips curved into a measured smile, her silence more dangerous than words. Daniel slammed his palm against the bench, shouting, "So we dig until we rip the truth out." James leaned forward, shadows swallowing half his face, and muttered, "Dig too deep and the earth collapses on you." The room grew colder, the weight of betrayal heavier with every word, as suspicion began to fracture loyalty. The storm outside gave way to silence, but the tension inside suffocated like smoke. Michael said, "We need to find him, alive or not." Sarah whispered, "If he's alive, he's already hunted." Claire closed her eyes, tears glistening. "If he's dead, the truth dies with him." Daniel's voice cracked, "Then we cannot stop searching." Evelyn folded her arms, her calmness cutting sharper than steel. "Sometimes truth is buried on purpose," she said. James stood slowly, his voice grim. "If he's gone, someone made it happen, and they're watching us now." Every heartbeat felt like a countdown, echoing louder than the storm that had passed. The night deepened, the courthouse lights dimmed, yet no one moved to leave. Michael said, "If he's missing, someone hid him." Claire's voice trembled, "Or someone buried him." Sarah paced, her heels echoing like gunshots in the hollow chamber. Daniel slammed his notebook against the desk and muttered, "We're circling ghosts." Evelyn's eyes lingered on him, calm but sharp, her silence pressing harder than words. James finally spoke, his tone rough. "We follow the trail of fear, not hope. Fear leaves footprints." The room stiffened at his words, the truth dragging them deeper into shadows none wanted to touch. Sarah stopped pacing, her reflection blurred against rain-slicked glass. "He promised me he would testify," she whispered. Daniel spat. "Promises are made to be broken. How?" Michael rubbed his temples, muttering, "Unless the promise was forced." Claire's hands shook as she pulled a folded paper from her pocket. "This came to me yesterday," she said. Evelyn leaned closer, her tone smooth. "And you kept this from us?" James clenched his jaw, stepping forward. "Show us, Claire." Her fingers hesitated, trembling. The folded paper heavier than stone, its secrets ready to ignite the room with fire. Claire unfolded the paper with trembling hands. A scrawled note read, "Trust no one inside." Her breath caught. Michael's eyes darkened. "This proves he feared someone here." Daniel hissed, "Inside means us." Sarah gasped softly, backing away from the table. Evelyn's calm smile didn't waver, though her gaze sharpened, dissecting each face. James said in a low voice, "Fear doesn't lie. Someone here drove him into the dark." The storm outside cracked lightning, illuminating their faces with violent clarity. Suspicion no longer lingered in whispers, it sat between them like a predator waiting to strike. Michael growled, "If the threat came from inside, then we're bleeding trust already." Claire pressed the note flat against the table, her tears falling onto the ink. Sarah whispered, "He knew. That's why he vanished." Daniel's fists tightened. "We can't just sit here." Evelyn's voice glided softly. "Then what do you propose, child? Reckless fires burn fastest." James leaned in, his stare piercing through shadows. We find the one who forced him out, before they erase the rest of us." The words carried a finality that silenced the room. The storm outside, a mirror of the storm within. The paper lay between them like a curse, words carved in desperation. Sarah's voice trembled. "If he feared us, who among us betrayed him?" Daniel's sharp reply cut the silence. "It's written in someone's face." Michael's jaw clenched, veins tight, as he said, "Fear does not choose at random." Claire whispered, "I trusted him more than myself." Evelyn tilted her head slightly, her smile both warm and cruel. "Trust is the easiest thing to weaponize." James' voice broke through, steady and grim. "Until we unmask the betrayer, we're all suspects." The storm's thunder sealed his warning like a verdict. The note still lay on the table when Sarah whispered, "He feared one of us." Silence carved into every corner, heavier than the storm outside. Daniel's voice cracked. Then he knew betrayal before it reached him. Claire pressed her palms to her face, her words muffled. "He begged me not to trust anyone, and I thought he meant them, not us." Michael's voice thundered. "Someone here made him vanish." Evelyn's calm tone slid like a blade. "Accusations are the weapon of the weak." James stepped forward, his eyes cold. "The weak are the ones already buried. The strong are still here." Claire finally raised her head, eyes wet, and whispered, "There is more." She pulled another folded paper from her pocket. Michael demanded, "You kept another?" Daniel shouted, "She hides pieces like she hides guilt." Sarah reached for Claire's hand, murmuring, "Don't let fear silence you." Evelyn leaned back, her smile sharpened. Perhaps fear is the only honest voice left. James' fists clenched, his stare burning into Claire. "Show us now." Claire unfolded the paper, its torn edges carrying secrets that threatened to shatter the last thread of trust between them. The second note bore only 3 words. "James knows why." The air fractured instantly. Sarah gasped. "What does this mean?" Daniel pointed furiously. "He's the reason." Michael growled. "Answer now." James' face hardened, veins rising at his temples. His voice dropped, cold and steady. "He trusted me with truths none of you could bear." Evelyn's lips curved, her eyes locked on James like a predator. "And you chose silence, didn't you?" Claire's tears returned, her voice trembling. "If he trusted you, why is he gone?" The storm howled louder, its voice echoing their unraveling unity. James slammed his hand against the table, his voice shaking but firm. "He came to me before the trial. He said someone close was already bought." Michael snapped, "And you didn't tell us." Sarah whispered, "You carried his last words alone?" Daniel's voice was sharp. "That makes you guilty." Evelyn's calm voice slithered, "Or perhaps it makes him the only one holding the truth." Claire's voice broke. "James, did you let him walk away?" His silence answered more than his words could, and the storm outside roared as if demanding its own verdict. James' voice cracked under the weight of his confession. "He begged me not to speak because he feared the enemy was already in this room." Sarah's tears fell silently, her hand covering her lips. Daniel shouted, "That means the betrayer is one of us." Michael's rage burned. "We stand in a circle of liars." Evelyn's gaze swept the group, calm and deliberate. "The truth has always been within reach, but some prefer shadows." Claire whispered, "Then he vanished to save us from ourselves." Silence pressed heavy, the storm a mirror to the chaos inside their fractured circle. The storm hammered outside as Michael shouted, "We are being played." Claire's tear-streaked face lifted, whispering, "Played by whom?" Daniel slammed his fist against the table. "By one of us." Sarah shook her head, her voice breaking. "No, it cannot be true." Evelyn's calm gaze lingered, her tone like poison wrapped in silk. The guilty rarely admit their reflection. James' eyes narrowed, his voice low. "He trusted me because I was the only one who wasn't bought." The words struck like lightning, dividing them deeper. The air felt thick with betrayal, every shadow a threat. Claire's voice cracked as she said, "If he trusted you, James, why didn't you protect him?" James growled, "He chose silence, not me." Daniel glared, You let him vanish. Sarah stepped closer, her voice trembling. The truth is rotting, and we're feeding it. Michael pointed at James, rage boiling. If you knew, you're part of this conspiracy. Evelyn folded her arms, her tone mocking. Perhaps guilt is a chain he cannot shake. The thunder outside cracked in violent response, their accusations rising until the walls seemed ready to collapse. Michael slammed his palm on the desk. If the witness dies, his blood is on us. Daniel shouted back, On him, pointing to James. Sarah cried, This isn't justice, it's slaughter. Claire's hands trembled, clutching the note as if it were life itself. Evelyn's voice sliced through the chaos. Perhaps justice was never the goal, only survival. James' face twisted. I carried his fear so you could live in ignorance. His confession cracked the room, every face reflecting doubt, rage, or grief. The storm outside roared in chorus, demanding a reckoning none could escape. Sarah's tears streaked as she whispered, We've turned on each other, and that's what they wanted. Daniel's voice was sharp. They were you. Michael's rage snapped. Stop tearing us apart and start finding answers. Evelyn leaned closer, her voice soft and cruel. Answers you cannot handle will bury you. Claire clutched her chest, gasping. The truth is already killing us. James exhaled hard, his words like stone. The witness warned me that one of you would betray the others to survive. A silence followed, sharper than thunder, as suspicion burned deeper than the storm. James' voice grew heavier. He told me one of you would sell him for safety. Michael shouted, Who? But James stayed silent, his jaw locked. Daniel barked, Say it now! Claire shook her head violently. No more lies, no more silence. Sarah sobbed, This isn't justice anymore. Evelyn's voice slid through, calm and venomous. It never was. Lightning lit the chamber in jagged flashes as the group stood fractured, each face etched with fear and fury. The climax broke not with truth, but with silence so suffocating it became its own confession. Thunder faded into silence, leaving only the echo of their breaths. Michael's voice was hoarse. We cannot stand here waiting to be destroyed. Sarah whispered, Justice has already been stolen. Daniel's hands shook as he muttered, Then we steal it back. Claire wiped her tears, her face pale. But at what cost? Evelyn stepped closer, her words sharp and calm. The cost of truth is always blood. James' eyes burned as he growled, If one of us betrayed him, then we carry that death until the grave. Their circle no longer felt like unity. It was a cage. Sarah leaned against the window, the storm clouds breaking into faint moonlight. We wanted justice, she whispered, but justice is just another lie. Michael paced, fists clenched. Without him, the system will bury the truth. Daniel snapped, Then we tear down the system. Claire's voice shook. That system is the only thing left, even if it's broken. Evelyn's faint smile lingered, her tone icy. Broken systems are easier to control. James exhaled, voice steady. The witness is gone, but his warning remains. We are both judge and jury now. Their silence confirmed the weight of his claim. Daniel's voice rang with fire. We can still expose them. Claire's face twisted. Without proof, we are the liars. Michael's rage broke. Then we create proof. Sarah recoiled, whispering, Fabricated truth is not justice. Evelyn tilted her head, calm and sharp. Justice is only the story people believe. James's jaw locked, his words heavy. Then the question isn't what is true. It's who survives to tell it. The realization weighed on them all. The missing witness was no longer a savior, but a ghost binding them in chains of suspicion and survival. Michael's voice cut through the silence. We stand at a grave, whether we dig it or lie in it. Claire whispered, The truth died with him. Sarah's eyes glistened. Then, what are we fighting for? Daniel shouted, For what's left of us. Evelyn smirked faintly. For power. Don't confuse it with justice. James leaned forward, his voice iron. The only way to honor him is to tear down the one who silenced him. Their faces carried exhaustion and fury, but no longer unity, only the fragile threads of desperation pulling them forward. The chamber seemed to shrink around them. Sarah's whisper broke the silence. We are all suspects now. Daniel's reply was sharp. Then we fight like survivors. Michael growled. No more silence, no more lies. Claire pressed her trembling hands together, whispering, "May he forgive us." Evelyn's voice slid through, cold and deliberate. "Forgiveness is a luxury for the dead." James' words struck with finality. "Then we walk out of here with truth, twisted or buried. But we walk out alive." The storm was gone, but the darkness inside lingered heavier than before. The storm had passed, leaving the courthouse cloaked in eerie stillness. Michael muttered, "The silence feels heavier than the storm." Sarah's eyes glistened, "Because silence is the only truth left." Daniel scowled, "No, the truth is hiding in shadows." Claire whispered, "And shadows never testify." Evelyn's faint smile lingered as she said, "Shadows don't need to. They swallow." James' voice was raw. "We stand on the edge of justice, and there's nothing beneath us." The chamber echoed with the weight of absence, the missing witness haunting every breath. Sarah's trembling hands pressed to the glass, her reflection fractured by cracks in the pane. "We chased justice, but all we found was betrayal." Daniel's sharp voice broke, "Then betrayal is the only truth left." Michael whispered harshly, "No, the truth was stolen, and we let it happen." Claire sobbed, "He begged for trust, and we failed him." Evelyn's tone was calm, too calm. "Failure is only another word for choice." James exhaled, "The choice we made was survival, and survival has no verdict." The silence afterward was its own sentence. Claire lifted the torn note again, her hands trembling. "His words will never leave me." Michael's voice shook. "He trusted the wrong people." Sarah whispered, "Or he knew exactly who to fear." Daniel spat. "Fear is the only compass we have left." Evelyn's calm words sliced through, "And compasses always point to power, not truth." James' voice lowered, heavy and grim. "Then power buried him, and truth followed." Their faces were carved with exhaustion, as if each bore the ghost of the vanished witness in their silence. Daniel's voice cracked. "If we walk out of here, what story do we tell?" Sarah whispered, "Not the truth, never the truth." Michael growled, "Then we let the world believe lies." Claire murmured, "Because the truth is already dead." Evelyn's smile deepened. "Truth dies every day, only power survives." James stared into the distance, his voice hollow. "Then the witness is not the only one who vanished tonight. Justice did too." Their silence sealed the grave they all stood upon, invisible but undeniable. The chamber emptied slowly, each step echoing like a farewell. Sarah whispered, "We will never see him again." Daniel muttered, "He's already erased." Claire's trembling voice broke, "But his ghost will never leave us." Michael said through clenched teeth, "The system will write lies, and will be their ink." Evelyn lingered by the door, her voice chilling. "The story is ours now, and stories decide everything." James remained behind, staring at the empty witness chair. His voice was a whisper to no one. "He vanished, but the question never will."